And it's hard to believe today marks 25 years since the heartbreaking loss of Princess Diana, given her spectre still hangs over the royal family to this day in so many ways. Now, you'll know British and French police concluded her death in a Paris car crash was a genuine accident sparked by a paparazzi chase and a drunk driver who lost control of the vehicle. But there are still swaths of people who question that official narrative, not least Mohammed Al Fayed, the father of Diana's lover Dodi, who also died in the car with her that night in 1997. So that footage is from 2003, where he infamously showed a Daily Express poll showing 85% of Brits thought Diana was deliberately killed. So I wanted to know what we thought today. So we have conducted a GBNews People poll, exclusively commissioned by the channel, and it revealed that just 29% of people now believe Diana was deliberately killed. 40% think it was an accident. But it's young people where there's most suspicion, with 44% of 18 to 24-year-olds, nearly half, saying she was murdered. That's up from just 10% in a similar YouGov poll from 2012. So what is behind that change? Well, the huge jump mirrors the rise of social media, including waves of videos doubting the official account of her death on the Chinese platform TikTok.
That Princess Diana was killed by the royal family. Watch till the end. This one is crazy. August 31st, 1997, Princess Diana died in a car accident in Paris, France. A year prior to her death in 1996, she wrote a letter stating her husband is trying to kill her.
There was 14 cameras in the surrounding area where Princess Diana crashed, and not one of them was working.
Now, the Metropolitan Commissioner at the time, Lord Stevens, was tasked with leading the high-profile inquiry into Diana's death. This is what he told me last week. This new generation is becoming convinced that Princess Diana may have been murdered via videos that they're watching on platforms like TikTok.
It was 85 and 90% of the population thought there was something in the conspiracy. And the allegation was, putting it simply, that Prince Philip, the husband of the Queen, had, together with MI5 and 6, murdered the most popular woman in the world. Now, by the time 4 years later happened, when we've done the inquiry for 3 years and then been to the coroner's inquest, which was in front of a jury, of course, that was no longer the case.
So what do you think? Taking all of that into account, should there be further investigation into the crash that killed Princess Diana? Send me your thoughts to dan@gbnews.uk. Tweet me at GBNews. While you're there, go and vote in our poll. I'll bring you the results shortly. But debating this tonight is a brilliant selection of royal masterminds, including Diana's wedding dress designer David Emmanuel, the royal author and socialite Lady Colin Campbell, the journalist and media CEO Ernest Owens, the TV presenter and actress Jenny Barnett, and Diana's personal protection officer Ken Worf. So Ken, I want to start with you first, because of course you were so close to Diana, and I imagine a significant anniversary like this is a difficult one. But you will be aware, thanks to the Channel 4 documentary, thanks to all of these TikTok accounts, that amongst young people, as our poll showed, more and more are suggesting that there should be further investigation into the crash. What's your take on that?
Well, they're interesting statistics, and I would urge, it's probably too late now, that they should have actually seen and listened to Lord Stevens in that documentary recently on national television, where he succinctly came to the conclusion and dismissed all the conspiracy theories for one line of his, which I think is so relevant, that he actually chased the evidence in this case. And actually, the evidence showed that there was not one single piece of evidence to support any of the allegations that were made insofar of the conspiracy theories suggesting that Diana was killed by some, malicious means. And I think we have to actually understand that and accept that that was the case. I mean, because he and his team of Operation Paget completely unearthed all the evidence and went to the end and found nothing to suggest that Diana died in anything other than a mundane car crash. Now, I think what's important here is, now that we know that there was no evidence to support that conspiracy, what we need to do now is actually decide and look at actually what went wrong that night in Paris. Why did the security of Al Fayed fail her? And when we re-examined from the moment that they left, I think it was Sardinia, to go to Saint-Tropez, and then they went to Paris, let's look at all the things that went wrong in the build-up to Henri Paul, an employee of Al Fayed, whose blood alcohol was nearly 4 times over the drink-drive limit. How was he allowed to drive when they knew that he had been drinking in that hotel that night and drive at speeds at such a level that collided with the 13th tunnel in the Alma Tunnel? Now, there are so many things that I could say about this, but why didn't the security at that time involve the police in Paris, ask them to escort them to the Bois de Boulogne, arrange for some facility for the media to take their photographs? There are so many things that have been left unanswered that weren't within Lord Stevens' remit, but we need now to look at and decide and establish what went wrong with the security that night in Paris.
Good points. David Emmanuel, of course, your career so intertwined with Diana, you were very close. She's become one of those iconic figures. Do you think sometimes with iconic historic figures, be it JFK, be it Marilyn Monroe, be it Grace Kelly, there's always going to be an air of mystery around their death?
Absolutely. It's the question of the blondes, isn't it, really? I mean, you think, as you said, of Grace Kelly, blonde, Marilyn Monroe. We never know. And I don't think we'll ever know with Diana. She's a global icon. And looking at the statistics, John Stevens, the police commissioner, took 3 years of inquiry. And do you know how much that cost? £12.5 million. Then, of course, the Channel 4 did a documentary, and we had the French version, and nothing has been resolved. So we're
so you don't feel satisfied?
Years later, we still don't really have the answers, do we?
Well, I slightly disagree with. I think that we do have the answers, David. I think if we look at the first inquiry by Judge Hervé Stéphane in France, he concluded exactly what Lord Stephen and indeed the coroner, Justice Scott Baker in London, concluded, that the evidence didn't find anything to suggest that there was a conspiracy.
Yeah.
Now, John Stephen, I don't know him personally. I had the privilege of working with him when he was Commissioner of Police. Be rest assured that he and the team that investigated this inquiry, at great cost to the taxpayer, yes, but I have no doubt in my mind that actually the result that they came to was the one. Okay. It may not sit happily with people, but, as he said, he chased the evidence and didn't find any.
OK, well, I want to bring Ernest Owens in now, because, Ernest, you are part of that younger generation. You're part of the TikTok generation. You're part of the social media generation. And I believe you do have some doubts around the death of Princess Diana. You're part of that percentage in our poll.
Yes. I definitely think that what has been said already is that the investigation to debunk these conspiracies, people have to understand that some of the conspiracies that have been made are also connected to the questions around security. My mindset is, why won't we just do a further investigation to just resolve it all? We should not just focus only on, speculation and salacious details about, motivations behind her death, but actually explore what happened with security that night, what was going on to lead to this point. And really, I think an investigation should give us all that conclusion. I think to have a mystery linger like this, when we have the resources and the means to really further investigate other aspects outside of just, within Diana's family, but we should look at, again, what was going on with the security that night, what was going on with the driver, answer some of those other questions that we can get the answers to, so we can wrap this up for not just
Lady C. Okay, Lady C, why not? Why not have another investigation, Lady C? Because you're opposed to it, I believe.
Right.
Well, I certainly am. And I wrote a posthumous biography of the Princess of Wales, and I interviewed absolutely everybody connected with it, and with the Mercedes. And there is absolutely no doubt that it wasn't a hit. It was a perfectly straightforward accident. The physical evidence is all there from beginning to end. The beginning of the accident started when Henri Paul shot off from behind the roundabout into the Alma Tunnel and clipped a white Fiat. The physical evidence was found on the tarmac. He goes into the Alma Tunnel and he puts the car in neutral. All of the witnesses heard the car roar. A car cannot, I should say, an automatic car cannot roar unless it is in neutral. Why did he put it in neutral? He put it in neutral because the airbags had deployed. And the fact of the matter is, we have proof that the airbags deployed because as the car entered the tunnel, there was a car that was driven by a North African couple in front of it. And the woman saw the point of impact with the 13th column. She saw Henri Paul being killed as the engine concertinaed into him and snapped his spine. She could not have seen that if the airbags had not previously deployed.
Okay. I want to bring Jenny Barnett in now, Lady C. Jenny Barnett, you've heard that from Lady C, but you say you still feel this looks like a shady business and you do want further investigation.
Yeah, I mean, if it looks like fish and it smells like fish, then it's fish. And even though we've had 9 years of investigation, from where I'm coming from, the Secret Service, they've got things that we little people are never told. And the police, Lord Stevens, is in the hands of the government. It is an arm of the state. It's part of the monarchy. And when you have somebody who worked with Al Fayed, who is a journalist, Hala Sarhan, who quoted that Prince Philip, and I quote, said he would never have a curly-headed, brown-eyed Muslim as the stepfather of his royal children. Now, what's going on here, in my heart, is some kind of cover-up. I'm not a monarchist. I like Diana. I like Charlie. I like all of them. But there's something that whiffs wrong, and the whiff smells of information that we're actually not being given. I mean, when they say we have information that we can't tell you, what is it? I want to know what's going on. We need it investigated. Dodi they say there's some conspiracy that he was meant to be killed, not Diana. She was meant to stay alive, but the baby was killed because she was pregnant with his child. And there's also her letter that she wrote. Well,
it's interesting because Lord Stevens denies that Diana was pregnant. He obviously looked at all of the evidence. Ken Worth, there are... and obviously you knew Diana, so I want to put this to you because one of the things I think that have shocked so many people, especially on social media in recent years, is the infamous note that Diana wrote that was revealed by Paul Burrell, where she says, literally months before her death, my husband is planning a crash, I'll be killed, I'll be deposed, it's going to be something to do with the brakes. Ken, can you explain, because we know that note is genuine, can you explain why Diana felt that way and why she may have written that note?
Well, there's so much I'd like to respond
Please
to.
do, please.
But, I mean, personally, Lady Campbell, who I admire, her knowledge of events surrounding Diana, but one thing that Lady Campbell isn't is a road traffic investigator to suggest that this car was in neutral when it acts. I mean, it's just nonsense to suggest that. You know, Lord Stevens employed one of the country's leading traffic investigators to reenact that accident, and he never, in his findings, suggested that car went into neutral and collided with the 13th pillar. So I think we have to look at the facts, and it's very easy to move away and suggest that there were other issues here. You know, for my part, yes, I'd like, if there was a conspiracy, let's have a look at it. But there isn't. I mean, there is no evidence there. And to suggest that, the Duke of Edinburgh is involved in this assassination. Hang on just a moment.
So many people...
And
just hold on 1 second, Jenny, and
then let's go back to the letter that Diana wrote to Paul Burrell and suggesting that her husband, the Prince of Wales, was tampering with the brakes in her car. Look, I've worked with the Prince of Wales and many members of the royal family. The Prince of Wales has never reversed the car in his life. He's never taken it out of a garage. It gets put in front of a palace, and when he leaves it, it gets turned around, so he just drives forward. He's never put petrol in the car in his life. How the hell would he know how to dismember the braking system of a car? And, okay, so where did Diana get this from? Unfortunately, in her sad life towards the end.
Possibly from Martin Bashir.
Well, no, she was taking advice from tarot card readers and copper pyramid scientists that were actually giving her absolute...
Well, Lord
rubbish.
Stevens actually said on the show last week if he had known what he knew today about Martin Bashir, he would have interviewed Martin Bashir under caution as part of his investigation. Jenny, it is interesting, though, isn't it? Because to come back to your point, we've got Lady C here and we've got Ken Wharf, and they can't agree. So perhaps what you're saying, Jenny, is there needs to be further investigation.
Well, there need also things like Monsieur Henri Paul, who was driving the car in the Channel 4. I don't know. I mean, you believe what you see sometimes, but his friend said he didn't drink. He wasn't a drinker. He would never have done that.
Although Lord Stevens says he has physical evidence and a video showing Henri Paul drinking that night. Lady C, I think you wanted to come in.
I did. I wanted to say, first of all, he was drinking pasty in the bar at the Ritz. But secondly, Mr. Wharf is completely incorrect. The evidence was clear that the car was in neutral. That's the physical evidence that was shown by the French police, and it showed up in the inquest. And the only reason that the car would have been put in neutral was that Henri Paul would have been blinded by the airbags deploying, and he had been trained as a driver. Whether he was drunk or not.
Okay, fascinating discussion. Jenny, you want to come in quickly?
I just want to say one thing, that the French Brigade Criminelle, they say history is made up of truths and half-truths. The aim is to find the truth, and I think that's why we need another investigation.
Okay. Absolutely. Look, fascinating stuff. David Emmanuel, I just want to give you the final word, David, because, of course, we should be remembering Diana today, a woman who you knew so well. What do you think she would make of all of the fractures between her two sons, David?
It's been a day of reflection. It's been lovely to see people putting flowers down and remembering her. Let's remember this woman who was an icon of empathy, right? And I think she would be deeply shocked. I think if she was alive, it wouldn't have happened with the two brothers.
I think you're so right.
It would not. I think
you're so right. There's no way she would have allowed this to happen. She wouldn't have allowed it.
She'd have smoothed the waters.
What do you think she'd think of Meghan Markle?
You mean the American woman? Yeah, well, I really can't comment on her. I mean, we've got Prince William, who's doing a splendid job, and we've got Harry Windsor in America with an American woman.
What a shame.
Who's driving everybody nuts.
Well, yeah, and also doing her best to bring down the royal family, but that's a whole other story.
Well, no, exactly. I mean, she messed up her family, now she's over here trying to mess up the royal family. It's shocking.
What a brilliant lineup of royal experts tonight. Thank you so much to all of my guests: Diana's wedding dress designer David Emmanuel, the royal author and socialite Lady Colin Campbell, the journalist and media CEO Ernest Owens, the TV presenter and actress Jenny Barnett, and Diana's personal protection officer Ken Wharf.